Now that was interesting. All right, so what else could we have going wrong? So, Jimmy, how are you this morning?
I am upright and breathing.
Upright and breathing, it's a good place. Every day you wake up above the earth is a good one. So, welcome in and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no. How could I not? How could I not?
So listen, I don't know why people seem to like me, but I'm just going to go with it.
It's always a good idea. You don't have to understand it. You just run with it.
Yep.
All right, so let's see who's with us. We have Martin of L&M Guitar Corner was our first one in, and followed by a friend of yours, R2R3 Locking Nut.
Ooh.
Saying, Jimmy, what's up? See, just like that. See.
I know.
And let's see, Ryan Hall, our music in-law, is here. And thanks to Doc Rivers the other day, I was on his live stream on Thursday night, and I helped me get up to 400 subs. So, yeah.
Right on.
So appreciate that. And Josh Tanberg is here with us, saying hello to everybody.
What's up, Josh?
And wow, Ryan and Martin and R2 were going back and forth there for a while. We've got Big Wave Dave here in the chat. Michael Krause is also with us.
Mr. Michael.
Apparently, Dave was on his way to a sale, so I wonder if Dave had made it and got what he wanted. And it'd be interesting to find out later. And this guy, Jimmy Bider, showed up. I don't know.
What a jerk.
That guy gets on my nerves. And Ben Coombs. Ben Coombs has joined us. And welcome in. And we got Hip Metal Works.
Yep.
Up early on the West Coast. Appreciate that. And then Randy Price has joined us as well.
Mr. Price.
You gotta love it. And Wayne McConnell saying, what's up?
Wayne.
And Rico B from sunny Arizona saying
hello.
I think you know this other guy here too. Let's see, where is he? There he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. El Gato.
Let's see. And I think that catches us up on the chat there. So Jimmy, thank you for doing the show. We've been wanting to have you on for a while. And I gotta say, I had missed the Easter show for OU812, and I was listening. I was watching it last night and going through it, and in you came into the show, and it was phenomenal.
Thank you.
So, it is you, my friend, are certainly a treasure, and we're all jealous of your abilities.
That's kind of you to say. I have my moments, and I get told, "You know who you are." But yeah, it was even surprising to me. It was like I was rather impressed. I was like, "Holy crap, that does sound pretty good." So we're staying with it. Jim's keeping his hands off of his crap. That's why I got this other rig to do the testing and messing around, and the other one just stays as is.
It sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
So we have the usual obligatory first question here, Jim. And so how do you get started on your guitar journey? What does that look like for you?
Well, so the way I was brought up as a kid, I was originally born in Joyzy, Somers Point, and got moved out to Lincoln, Montana, where they found the Unabomber. And as things turned out, my parental unit decided that we needed to live like mountain men. And so we lived in a cabin on the Landers Fork River out in the, BFE. And, going down to the river in the middle of winter. Of course, there's, 10, 15 feet of snow, through there. Can't traverse it with vehicles. You're on snowmobiles to get, but it was going down to the river to chop a hole in the ice and, keep it open to keep water in the cook stove and get the horses and all the other animals watered and everything. And so and my parental unit was very religious. And so I was rather sheltered, and given the environment that I was in, there was no power or nothing. So there was no radio. So I had no access to not even a radio. And the only time that I did hear the radio was either country western, which I love today. The 1970s and 80s country music definitely had its identity.
Oh yes, for sure.
And so I still love that. I like Ronnie Millsap. I like, Barbara Mandrell and those are the like, and so it was either that or Christian radio. So, and then when my parental unit got remarried, she was not real thrilled about, living in that area. So we moved back closer to the highway, and, now we had power and running water and, all those amenities that we take for granted nowadays. And I managed to get a radio, and I started, listening to 101.1, the, Montana's home of rock and roll out of hell, Montana. And at the time it was, they played top 40, everything more or less. And so it was, Madonna and, Duran Duran. And
so what age is this where you're getting exposed to this?
So at that time I would have been probably like 9 years old. And so I did hear Van Halen, but at that time it was the song "I'll Wait." So there's not a whole lot of guitar on that song.
Right.
But when I would go to my grandparents' house that also lived there in Lincoln, is my grandfather played guitar, and I was always fascinated with it. I was like, wow, that's and he'd sing like Janis Joplin and songs of that nature, and it like sparked something inside me. It's like, wow, that is like the coolest thing. And I was just like, okay, gotta have a guitar. And one day a friend, an upperclassman on the bus one day handed me this cassette tape, and he was like, here, I know you don't, you don't get a chance to, listen to any kind of music and whatnot. So I snuck it home. And of course I wasn't allowed to have any kind of music that if it wasn't Christian music, as I wasn't allowed to have music in the house.
Wow.
And so I had to sneak this thing in. And of course, this little radio that I had a cassette deck in it too. And the first song on the tape was Orion from the Master of Puppets album from Metallica. And I was like, what is this sound? This is incredible. I was just like blown away. It's like, this is what you can make them sound like. I was like, and that was it for me. I was like, all right, we got to have a guitar. Of course, we're extremely poor. and so, I even went to the lengths of taking old wood, because we had a sawmill. And many, many hours on just cutting boards, and hundreds of thousands of board feet. and I just cut out pieces of wood and just made like just guitar, so I could like just hold something, and it had fishing string for, or fishing line for strings. And
Right.
I had this yellow paint, and it was yellow and red, and it was this weird kind of, Z-ish kind of shape, because my friend had also been, showing me, he was getting, the guitar magazines from the day, Guitar Player, and those section. I was just like, okay, my mind's just blown. And I was all in, even though I had absolutely nothing. And so my grandpa saw that I was getting really interested in it. So he had this like 1970s K and I can't remember the model. It was a hollow body, and he gave it to me, and the action was a mile off the fingerboard and all that. But it was a guitar, and I was just like, I just sit there and strum it. I was like, I don't know how to tune the damn thing, and
Right.
and so the time went on, and I went to, and I think this was, let's see, it would have been '86, is I went to a friend's birthday party, and we're all sitting in the hot tub, sitting in front of the TV, and my friend's going through all the channels, and then all of a sudden, here's Van Halen Live Without a Net comes on. I think it was Cinemax or Showtime or one of those then, but it was like the condensed version. It wasn't the full.
Right. Yeah. It's where they show all the kind of the highlights of it. Yeah.
Yep. And that there, even though I'm not like Ryan or a lot of these guys where, I'm all in with the Van Halen thing. Van Halen is just a part of the bigger picture for guitar for me. But that was kind of like, all right, now I get to see somebody actually doing this stuff that I've only been listening to, for this, short time. And I was just, I was like, oh my God, this is, how? How? I can't even wrap my head around what, I see his fingers and all this, and it's like, oh my God. And so that pretty much put it in, it set it in stone. I was like, yep, I'm going to play the guitar. One way or the other, I am going to play the guitar. Parents be damned. I don't care if rock and roll is the devil's music. Is like, I don't care. And it was like, how, so that was it. And then, we moved to a farm outside of Big Timber. And then, my exposure to everything by then I had this, my grandmother had bought me this miniature Explorer shaped guitar out of the Sears and Roebuck catalog. And it had a speaker in the back of it. And I annoyed the holy living crap out of people because if you turned it up all the way, it would just start feeding back. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And I just sit there and wow, wow. And it had just a whammy bar on it. And I just sit there and wow, 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 wow. Drive everybody nuts.
My parents had got me an LP one like that. It was an LP one like that with the speaker in it. And you turn it all the way up, and then the speaker would start cracking out. It would start cracking out, and then feedback. Yeah.
And then, so I took one guitar class in high school, and that was beginner guitar, just to just your basic chords and notes, and just a start of being able to read music. And then I started my own hay stacking business. And actually made a lot of money from it. And my first real guitar was a Kramer Focus 4000 V, not the Night V or the Vanguard. It was just the straight V with a Floyd Rose on it. And I beat the hell out of that guitar for years. And of course, that's one of the guitars that I regret selling because good luck trying to find one of those. You can find the Vanguards and the Night Vs, but just the straight
Vs are tough,
it's like, nope, non-existent anymore. And I was like, oh man, how much that thing would be worth today if I would have kept it. But then after that, then I was in a band, we played proms and, the stuff that you do when you're still in high school or just out. And then,
all right, so you go from not having anything available to going into a band. So how do you get good enough to play in a band?
So it was basically just every available minute that I had to myself was just, play, so within about a span of, I don't know, a year and a half is, I was, a big Metallica head at the time. So so I had a lot of Metallica songs under my belt. And of course there were other guys in high school, upperclassmen that, were doing the same thing. And that's how I learned to play those songs is just by watching them. which has been like the greatest guitar lessons of my life, is just, watching other people play and going, okay, that's how he does it. And,
See, that has always been kind of one that's really interesting to me, because before guitar, I had gone through middle school and high school playing clarinet, bass clarinet, all four saxophones, and even picked up some piano along the way. But a stringed instrument had escaped me until I was an adult. I just couldn't figure out. So how folks sit down and they watch someone else play and they get it all from there, it just blows my mind. So you get it. So you get into this band.
Yep. The band's name was Dizzy Cowabunga.
I love it. Love it.
From a Faster Pussycat song, Babylon, like Meta Hoochie Coochie, name it Dizzy Cowabunga.
The theme song almost writes itself.
And so we did that, and of course, being in Montana, it was like, oh well, we're gonna play this, we're gonna play the prom in Townsend, but it's it's a 2-hour drive to get there, and all that, and so after a while, high school friends, we all went our separate ways. So that basically fell apart, and then I moved back to Lincoln, and met a female, and started the the wife and kids thing, and being back in there is like, yep, money's tight, so I had a crappy Charvette that I banged around on, but I never had an amp, and so I just even trying to get strings is like, well, break a string, it's like it's an hour and a half drive to the city or nearest music store to get strings. So it's like, okay, got to be careful with the guitar, because if you break a string, then you're just SOL until it's time for the trip.
Yeah,
to either Great Falls or Helena or Missoula, and then I would have loved to have stayed in Lincoln because it's a beautiful place, but trying to level up, there's not much of an economy in Lincoln, small town of just a couple hundred people is all,
right.
And so we ended up moving to the east side of the state towards the Billings area, and there I reconnected with a friend that had came to the high school in Big Timber when I was in high school, and he had this hollow flash Kramer, and had a brand new Rockman. Was it the something 100? But it was the one had the detachable speakers on it, and it had all the effect panel and everything. And I was just like, holy crap! The big thing was the guitar. I was just like blown away. I was like, what? How in the hell what is that? That is the coolest thing I have ever seen. And then I, after being a thorn into the side of this guy that came to the school, just to, he was basically just doing like this little clinic for the guitar classes. And he worked at Peter's House of Music in Billings. And then it's like every opportunity that I had is I was going there. And he's the one who sold me the Kramer. Back then, that was 89, and he sold that guitar to me. I'm sure he took a loss on it, but he must have, saw me that I was just like, yeah, I'm serious about doing this. And he sold the guitar to me for $300.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't $300 back then.
Yeah.
But once I got back to the east side of the state, as I went, kept going back there, and started, and time goes on, and I just started collecting guitars, and about the the advent of the internet and all this technology that we now love and lament
at the same time, right?
It's like, oh well, now all these the vintage guitar things, because you had Jack White and all that, and I had amassed eBay comes around and it's like, oh my god, what is this? So that's how I scored my black single cut Dia. Was one of those. So was basically the black Dia and my red Ibanez. Here, this one here is in 2009. Is I bought this house. I moved out of Billings because the school system sucked, and like, okay, well, I want my child to have a decent education, and and I wasn't happy with the education system in Yellowstone County, so we moved out of town, moved to Joliet, and then property prices were pretty low. I bought this huge house on a large lot for, dirt cheap. Had 2 places in Billings, and we sold those and moved in there. Sat in the place for about a year, and then March 14th, 2009, 2:30 in the morning, house burns down.
Oh God!
I lost everything except the 2 guitars that were at another person's house.
Right.
And then that was probably, that took over a year to rebuild the house, because I rebuilt the house myself, because I'm in the construction industry, and had been in the construction industry for some years by then. And of course, as luck would have it, at the moment I got the house done, is the wife was like, "Oh, I want a divorce," and I was like, "Yep, I'm not surprised." And so I laughed, and it's like, it's just stuff. I can always get more stuff. And,
right.
But the whole, I went through the whole, child custody thing when I was young, and it wasn't fun. So I was like, I'm not doing this to my daughter. It's like I walked away, and it's just like, yeah, whatever. And so after that, it was just like, well, you know what? It's just me now. I just want a house full of guitars and music equipment. And I've worked my ass off to acquire all this stuff. Now it might not be, the prettiest or the, high end stuff. I don't care, because, I can manipulate. It's just wood, it can be manipulated, and, I can bend it to my will, and, I can just, such as yourself, take cheaper guitars and rehabilitate them and make them something worth playing.
Well, and that's kind of the joy of that, right? It's like, you don't really have the budget to get something that's all nice, big, and expensive and perfect. And so you start thinking, okay, well, how can I get something that I can be proud of, something that's going to inspire me to play? And then you're left with, okay, well, I could do this. And, much like you building your own guitar out of whatever you had left around,
Yeah.
It just blows my mind, right?
So what I wanted to ask you, Charles, is, been doing this fabric top thing to date. What do you consider to be your favorite piece of work that you've done?
My absolute favorite is the Sister Pinup and Skulls telly that I did for Unfucking Believable.
Okay.
And because it's like the one that I have, but everything on it was done is done to a higher degree. His is actually nicer than mine when you start comparing them back and forth. This is the first. My Pinup and Skulls telly here in the middle is the first guitar I ever bound. Right. And so when I did his, I understood how to bind a lot better. And so his binding came out a lot better than my binding. And I was binding Randy Crooks' Telecaster at the same time as I was binding this one. So at the same time as I was binding Unbelievables. And so when I got to Unbelievables, it was really the third guitar I was binding. And so that guitar, I think the finish on it is better than the finish on mine. The binding is better on it than it is on mine. We got to experiment a whole lot more with that fabric and how it could be laid out, and so I think that guitar is probably the best work I've done.
Right on.
But I'm finishing up the Charles Green guitar now, which was kind of a whole new frontier, because it's t-shirts and rather than just regular fabric. And so that enabled me to do some things I hadn't done before. And so that guitar is really nice too. So it's going to be a hard one to sit here and plan, but that's kind of a Kramer British special type body.
Okay.
And so, in your area of the super shredder guitars, for
Cool.
sure. So that's really nice, and I'm gonna have a hard time letting that one go.
Yeah, they I mean, I've had a couple. I mean, I don't really sell guitars. I mostly just give them away.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, this whole thing is, venture is a money losing
Yeah.
project for me. It's just, I don't care. It's what makes me happy, and I'd rather be doing this than, at least in the winter. At least a lot of this winter is around here is we didn't have much snow at all, and
And I think when I do a fabric top, it's especially when I'm doing it for somebody else, right? Because my idea was when I did, like I said, when I did these three here, I did what I wanted to do, right? If I wanted a custom guitar, what was it going to be? And so each of these three, I did that for. So my philosophy going forward with doing a fabric top for anybody is, okay, I will give you my opinion. However, I want to know what you want, because this is your custom guitar. It's not my custom guitar.
yes, yes,
Yep.
And that's kind of what's sparked me on like the red one,
Uh-huh.
then this purple one with the burgundy flames on it and whatnot. Yeah, wrong way. So you may have all seen them, but I mean, they were things that I saw. It's like, okay, well, the radius body, which is now the Ibanez JS, the Joe Satriani, the body shape on that's just incredible. I mean, I immediately fell in love with that guitar, but I didn't like the neck, Fendery neck, and so like this is another one that I put together of parts. This is it's a 1992 S540 body with a 96 LTD neck. A lot of people, it's like, oh, the neck's too skinny, it cramps my hands, and I'm the opposite. Is I like the thin necks. The thicker necks is what make my hands cramp, because I don't have fingers. So I love the radius body, but I wasn't a big fan of the neck, and so I was like, well, I'll just find the parts and make the thing that Ibanez didn't make.
Yeah.
And so the red one was the first of many guitars that I've hacked on, and I was like, well, okay, put the time in, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to find some crap guitars, and we're going to learn how to do fretwork, and of course I destroyed my share of stuff, but what it allows me to do is, it's like, well, instead of finding the perfect guitar, it's something that don't have the knowledge or the skills to work on. It's like, now I can just it's like, well, I don't care if does it get a bad neck? Yep, I don't care, I can fix it.
Yeah, there's a certain freedom to that, right? You can grade. I have bought necks and bodies that I probably wouldn't have bought otherwise, right? Okay, I'll only use it. Eventually I'll use this on something. I'll use this on something else, and just knowing that you can do something with it. But Jimmy, when you're actually looking for something, what is it that gets your motor going in looking for a guitar? What do you sit down? What are you feeling for? What are you looking for?
Well, most of the time it's just something different. Because I don't own Fenders, I don't own Gibsons, I don't own PRSs, because it seems like everybody's got one.
Okay.
So I try to find stuff that whether it's off the wall. I stick with just the this body shape. I've tried V's and all that. I've got a couple Dean MLs sitting in the closet, and it's like, they're not comfortable. They're just not comfortable to me. So I just look for stuff, and it's like, well, okay, I've got these parts. When I buy parts like necks or bodies, I ask questions. What's the neck pocket width and all this stuff, because I've got a trunk that's got about 50, 60 guitar necks in it. That it's like, oh, here comes a body. and then this neck, let's just keep trying necks, and it's just trial and error until it all comes together. Let's see, Mitch Heyman had a question talking about, I think, this guitar. This is an Ibanez Low Pro Edge in this one. And some of my favorite bridges are the Ibanez Edge ones. It doesn't matter. I've got Low Pro, the original, and the Edge Pro. I actually like the Edge Pro the best. Super low profile. There is a little difference with where it comes up to the posts. Is there's a 4 millimeter difference. So if you ever buy one, you have to always keep that in mind, because the bridge sits forward in 4 millimeters. So you have to, if you're going to replace it with something else, you have to make sure that you have the enough adjustment in your saddles to make it work. And I didn't really know that until actually a couple months ago. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I got lucky on the, because the red one's got the Edge Pro fit the route. Hey, what's up, hippie? But I don't know. I just get immersed into, is just, buying, cheaper guitars that look cool and that are different, and just turning them into great instruments. I mean, it's just, I love doing it.
So is there a reason? Why do you prefer the Edge Pro? The Edge or the Edge Pro you prefer? I'm sorry.
It's the Edge Pro. It's just super low profile, and it just feels comfortable. It's the most comfortable ones to me, anyways. My preference, out of them. But I mean, I won't complain if guitar has a different one, and it's like, oh, cool. I've got all kinds of extras, and because I just buy a needless amount of crap. One day I might need it.
Well, you never know what you're going to need. If you get rid of it, you won't have it. And that's, it's 3 days after you get rid of something is when you need it.
Yep. Every time. But so it's, so now I have all this, stuff, and I'm part of this, awesome community, even though I was, I pretty much, left it for a while, after, I did the videos for Metalhead Hippies stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, life happened, and I just kind of walked away from it. And then just all of a sudden, all right, there's OU812. It's like, okay, I guess we're going to go all in now. Yeah. I love everybody here. This is such a great community. I can't.
It's true. Very true.
Speak volumes of this. Everybody's so great. I have a lot of fun. My getting back into it. A lot of playing, and so my playing has gotten better, because there was about a 4-year span that I really wasn't even playing guitar. I was working on guitars a lot, but the playing just got kind of put to the wayside. And it really suffered. And then, with getting older, and it's like, well, I was doing this before, and now my hands is like, okay, I got stupid hands now.
Right, that is the danger when you're doing so much work on guitars, is that that usually comes out of your playing time, and it's just, and it is kind of the shame of it, and you gotta have to kind of balance that off. But no, it was so good to see you come on to the OU812 channel, because you've been a great addition to it, and it made for a lot of comedy in the beginning with you trying to get the rate right. And you want to talk through that a little bit?
Well, I started back, and I still had the same old gear that I had when I did the videos for Hippies channel, and so I was like, well, it worked before. And it, I honestly, I haven't gone back and watched any of that, because I was like, okay, it was embarrassing enough that, just doing that. But, there were some times where it went from, it was bad, and then it got worse and worse. and then that was the motivation. I was like, all right, Jim, you gotta get something done here. It's like this is unacceptable. And everybody's probably wishing that you weren't coming back. But with the help of the OU crew and other people, as I got my act together, and so now everything's good. And then so I bought I got this other Roadcaster and hooked it up to the older laptop, and this is the F around rig, and then the other one just, it doesn't get touched now. It's just staying the way it is.
Say that last part again.
Yeah.
Ryan, pay attention.
So, and then I have a friend that I want the second rig because I have another friend that plays guitar, and he's getting back into it and he's practicing up. So I want to be able to at least get him back and get him into this too, because he's he loves guitar just as much as me, and want to get him into this community, because like I said before, this is great. I mean, I just absolutely love this.
Yeah, this is an absolutely great and supportive community in this corner of it, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. And what I love about having that second rig is your buddy can come over, he can twist all the knobs and change everything and experiment and get inspired, right?
Yep.
And that's where the joy is in all this, right? What sounds can you make with it?
Yep. And I mean, it's so great because everybody seems like they're helping everybody else, because we all have the same goal. That's to get better at guitar and to have fun. And that's what it's all about. What's up, John?
And that's the whole thing. It's got to be fun. If we're not having fun, we're doing it wrong.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. And I mean, it does take a lot of work. I was trying to, at least with the OU 812 channel, is like, okay, I'm going to do a new song every week. And it's like, that takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Taking a song that you're not familiar with, learning it, getting it down good enough so that you don't look like a fool, even though that, they don't care that, it's like whatever your playing ability is, that's great. Because I mean, I'm on the same thing. We don't care how, if you think you're terrible, just come on and do it. You don't get better if you don't do it, and it's like, we're scared or stage fright. And it's like, well, I mean, you're literally the only person in the room.
Someone's coming in with the crook and hauling you off.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. It's like, you still have like that degree of stage fright, even though you're the only person in the room and it's just people on a screen, and it's like, I'm nervous, and okay, well, nope, yep, I screwed that up. And, and now it's kind of like, I've calmed down a little bit. There's, the anxiety has gone away, and, and I love it when people rib on me or give me crap.
Well, it's fun. It's fun because it's good natured, and in this part of community, when that's going on, they're doing that because they love you.
Yep.
Right. And if they don't do it, okay, now there's something I need to worry about.
Yeah. So.
But no, I had missed the Easter show and was sitting there watching, and I was looking at that first time that you came in. And the tendency on a lot of those things is just to go as fast as you can and rip through it. And I think if I remember right, you started your first turn where you were going really fast, and in the middle somewhere you slowed it down, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And then you took it back up again, but it was like, oh, he is confident enough. He took his time in it. He did the slow down in the middle, and it was so crisp and it was so clear and so perfect. It's just like I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah. And and I know there's some people, it's like, oh, they're playing the same songs over and over again. It's like, if you don't like it, go away. I mean, but the challenge of that is okay. It challenges you to do other stuff, to, go outside of, of your comfort zone and just try something new. And, and so I don't mind playing the same stuff over and over again because it just makes you better.
Well, yeah, and here's the idea on that too is you guys aren't playing it the same way every time either, right? And there's a lot more there's a lot more, you're playing things on the fly to play off of the previous person there, so you're not playing the exact same thing that they played and kind of add to it. And so there is all that I cannot come up with the word. The improvising, right? The improvising in that where it's not yet, it may be the same songs, but it's not being played the same way, and you get something new every time.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, because I'm not really a guitar player, I don't claim to be a guitar player, is the only lessons that, that I've had was the semester of beginning guitar in high school. And then it was basically me copying other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you said, well, Jim, you play an A scale, and I'd be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, my whole life has just been basically mimicking my favorite artists.
Yeah.
And, why didn't I get it any further? I don't know. I was having too much fun doing what I was doing. So that's, that's why I get a kick out of when, Randy and John and Ryan's like, oh, key of E, Jim. And it's like, yep.
Nailed it.
The key of E.
But now it seems like you are finding your own voice and your own tone, and how does that feel?
Good. And that's what I like is listening to everybody, because they have all their their guitars, their guitar rigs all sound different, and they all have a different approach to playing, and it's like, I mean, it's great because not everybody. If we were all doing whittly, it would probably get boring.
Right, for sure.
But I love that, it's great to see all the the different styles and sounds and everything, and that's what makes it enjoyable. And it's just thanks.
They're just calling each other out now.
So I mean, at least this, we didn't have crap for snow here this winter, and usually during the winter is I'm out. Compared, like the winter before last, is I was out every weekend all day long snowmobiling. And this year, no snow means that, oh, yep, it's not fun finding that hidden, tree stump or rock under the snow when you're going, 50, 60 miles an hour, because you get hurt, your snowmobile gets wrecked. And I was like, yeah, I mean, you have to wrench on those things bad enough when you're not wrecking them. I mean, they're constantly maintaining them, because you're just, I mean, it's all out, especially when I'm not just going up there and trail riding and putzing around, it's climbing mountains, and you're working. I mean, you're working. And this year I was just like, yeah, it's just, I watched all my other friends go out, and they were just destroying their snowmobiles. And I mean, these things cost $20,000, and they're not cheap to fix. And even though I turned my own wrenches on mine, it's like those parts are just not,
no, it is not friendly. No.
And so it's like, yeah, I'll just take this winter off. And so I fell back on this, and that's, and I'm so happy that it worked out that way, because, I found, this, all these great people in this community, and it was like, all right, cool. This is what's going to burn up my time. Guitars are my passion. It's like, pretty much everybody else here. It's all, it's also theirs. And so it was just it's funny how the universe works.
It really is. I had never intended to have a channel. Never. It was the furthest thing from my mind. I just wanted to learn to play guitar, and so the fact that I'm doing this now is all an accident.
Yep.
But it's been a lot of fun too.
So yeah, Mr. Mick, I like playing songs. I do have a list that I've gone through. I've sat down and it's like, okay, well, what songs do you not hear people playing? I was like, that's what I want to play. It's that whole being different thing. A lot of people, it's like, what song was that? Well, that was, Too High to Fly by Dokken. It's like, I've never heard that song. It's like, that's great because now I've just opened up.
Mm-hmm. You've opened up the door to a new experience for somebody, for sure. Randy Price says guitar is the best expensive hobby that isn't drugs.
Yep, that's exactly right.
And so I was, Jimmy, I was running around with the missus yesterday, and we went to all the places she likes to go, like we do every Saturday. And we were running a little bit ahead of schedule yesterday, so we stopped in at my favorite pawn shop. And I went over to the guitar section like I always start, and my wife comes behind me and she says, "Why are you looking at guitars? You have more than enough." and I pretended not to hear it.
Oh, tone deaf all of a sudden.
Right? Yeah, I pretended not to hear it, and then she walked away for a minute, and I was reaching for a Telecaster off the rack, and was starting to look at it, and she came back. And she's like, "No, really, you have enough already."
Get off my back, lady.
Oh.
You never know. I mean, that's what, around here, the pawn shops aren't that great because it's basically just it's your run of the mill, Squires and all that, which is like, okay, whatever. Occasionally I'll find one that'll come in, with, it's very expensive to live here in the Gallatin Valley right now, because even though I'm not supposed to say stuff, as people like, Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers or Kirk Hammett and a number of your favorite, music personalities live up here. And I have, worked on, we're either building a house for them or we're remodeling a house for them. And so, but the influx, it's such a popular place. It's the fastest growing county in Montana right now. And of course, with that with the current, economic situation that we're in, is inflation is really high, and it's super expensive to live here. And as a result is people start, having fire sales. And there is a big music community here, but it's not rock. It's country, and I don't know what you call it. I've listened to some of it. We'd call it alternative or whatever. And some of it's pretty horrible, and I guess it's an acquired taste. Or so, finding guitars like this of this nature are far and few between, but they do show up. So I visit the pawn shops and be like, "Oh, look at that!" I did score a PV Tracer that wasn't painted with a sponge, Randy. And so occasionally it'd be here, but most of the stuff I get is either from eBay or Reverb, the typical places. So,
yeah, it's part of that looking. Even when you have everything you want, you're still going to look, and you're still going to.
And that kind of the thing is, you go in there and it's like, well, you might see something hanging on the wall, and then all of a sudden you might have an epiphany, be like, oh, that would look great with fabric X.
Exactly. And it's one of the good places to find source material. I love to stir and watch. I will go and I will sit there and watch something and wait for it not to sell, wait for the price to come down, wait for it to come down again, and then I feel good about buying it.
Randy wants me to build a secret wall in Hammett's house, and how about I just steal all of his wah pedals and put them behind a brick wall.
That is interesting, for sure.
Yeah. So, it is amazing the amount of celebrities that are up here that you don't even know about. And when one of them's going up there because there's this black helicopter that I'm like probably about 5 minutes away from the Bozeman airport. And every time that black helicopter goes by, it's like, oh, I wonder who's going up to the mountain today.
That's right. Yeah, the suspiciously unmarked helicopters.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
no markings on it
yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah. The one that cost $5,000 just to go from the airport, and it's basically a 20-minute trip to the mountain by air, and it's a $5,000 trip. But I mean, it's getting crazy. I mean, it's seriously getting crazy around here. The amount of money that's just being hemorrhaged
Mm-hmm.
in this county is just, I mean, it's unfathomable. It's tens of billions of dollars a year. I mean, the airport, I mean, there are dozens of private hangars being
Yeah.
built and have living quarters and everything in them. And it's like, $20,000 a month to rent one. And it's like, Jesus.
I wonder why prices are going up.
Yeah. And I mean, the median cost for a home here now has went from like about 325
Mm-hmm.
to it's almost up to, I think it's over 700,000 now. So the price has literally doubled for the same place, and it's just like, and rent is just, it's crazy. It's like, of course we've got homeless people here, and which have it's gotten a lot worse over the last 2 years, and then of course there's people living in their campers and RVs on there's a lot of empty streets where there's future subdivisions going in, and
Right.
the streets are lined with campers and RVs because people can't afford rent, and it's like okay. but luckily the company that I work for we're booked out for the next 10 years.
Wow.
Building homes. And and I've asked my boss on several occasions, like, we got caught. It was 2010 here, when we saw the last economic downturn. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of the same thing is that, things were going good. I mean, people were building left and right. And of course we were, Montana, this whole area kind of sees like any kind of economic downturn last, because Montana has a lot, exports a lot of stuff, oil and things, whatnot. So everybody's like, oh, they're still building stuff in Montana. So people from every corner of the country just, was coming here, and, cause there was plenty of work. And then all of a sudden one day it was just like done. And here's all these people. And now it's like, okay, I mean, houses that we were working on in the middle of houses shut down. Nope, we're done. We're not paying more for it because it's getting too expensive. So now you're faced with, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah, exactly. What do I do now? So how am I going to make it? Yeah.
All these people are fighting for, things like remodel jobs and, building decks and all that. And everybody's, putting a bid in. So it got to the point where it's, well, you can do the bid and try to get the job to either not make money or lose money,
mm-hmm.
and just for the sake of working. And it was just like, yep, I'm not doing that. So at that point I moved to I had a chance to move to Kansas City, because I was already, by that time, I was already divorced and all that. So I moved to Kansas City. I was like, I'm out of here. This is ridiculous. And then I came back in 2016, and, the mountain was starting to roll again. And now it's just out of control. I mean, I can't believe it. It's just, I mean, over the last summers, they put this brand new gondola in going up to Lone Mountain. And now they're going to put another one in on the opposite side.
Oh, my.
And there's the one and only resort in Moonlight Basin. And now they want to take the resort and just expand it all the way across the mountain into the next valley, which is where the Madison River runs through. Because we have the Missouri headwaters are just about 20 minutes away from me, and it's just expanding so much, and it's just like, it's just unbelievable. I've never seen.
And then now the question is, okay, how long is this going to last, right?
Our company's pretty much locked into our contracts because we can't find good subcontractors.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest one was concrete, is relying on outsiders to do this stuff, and there were so many fails. I mean, it was you get all these guys that, I mean, hacks. Oh yeah, I can do this, and then they do the job, and it's like, how can you be 3 inches out of elevation from one end to the other? And it's like, don't you own these tools called like a transit? We've been using for or even just a water level, for Christ's sakes, the simplest tool on earth, but is the most accurate thing ever. And so finally, and getting denied concrete because, I mean, the gravel, we got 3 pits here supplying, whatever, sand, washed rock, crushed rock.
Right.
There is now a shortage of crushed rock because these 3 pits can't produce enough
for all the building,
for all this building around here. And even with concrete, it's like, oh, we need 30 yards of concrete to pour, this foundation. And like, nope. And so now we have a concrete crew. We have a concrete division of our company now. And the boss just is like, yep, I bought 4 concrete trucks, bought 3 semi loads of forms, and we have our own concrete crew now. And so in our contracts is we're tied in once the foundations of the house are in, is those people are locked into their contract.
There you go.
They cannot back out, and it's going to cost them a pretty penny
to do so. Yeah.
To do so. So, but we don't advertise or anything. I mean, a lot of subcontractors won't work for us because we're too picky. It's like, these people are paying, I mean, in most cases, 15, 20 million bucks to build these houses. And it's like,
it's got to be right.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be perfect. But it's funny, you're too picky, and it's like, okay, whatever, we'll find somebody else.
Well, Jimmy, we're down to a few minutes here. The question I have for you is kind of very similar to the question we began with, right? And so, where do you want this journey to take you from here? Where would you like it to go?
Well, I mean, I just like to see this, community to grow, and because I've made a lot of good friends, and I have a lot of fun, and I just want it to continue. And that's it. I just want to play the guitar and have fun.
And Jimmy just wants to have fun, folks.
Yep. That's it. I love that. We're trying to bring, new people into this and get them rolling and get them started on a, different part of their guitar music journey. And that's what it's all about. The world is falling apart around us, and we have this small community here of friends and a fellowship. And that's what I love about it, because even where I live there's no sense of community in neighborhoods anymore, because nobody wants to talk to each other. Nobody wants to help out. And it sucks.
It is. And, it's funny. I kind of had a rough week last week and sit there, and I decided I was going to go ahead and stay away from the guitar stuff for a little bit so I could deal with some stuff that I was dealing with. And, I realized the moment that I came back to it, it was what I needed. If I had just gone about my routine, then a lot of things I was dealing with have been a lot easier to deal with, because I would have had that, And so it really is that this community is really a great place to be, and the way we all help each other and the way we help each other through stuff, and really that idea that you and I were talking about earlier today, and it's all about enjoying all this, right? If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong, because that's the whole point of it all.
Yep. And I met a lot of great people, and friendship and to me, and the fellowship that we all share, because we all love the same things. And on the outside of guitars, we all have different stuff that we do, but our common interest is what binds us together, and I love it. It's the greatest thing ever.
Exactly, and it is so much fun, to see things going forward. So here's a couple things that are going on the rest of the day, right? We know that the OU 812 crew is going to go ahead and they're going to go live 5 p.m. Eastern. And that's 4 p.m. Central, in case anyone's interested. And are you going to be on with them today?
If they don't kick me off,
If they don't throw you out,
ignore me. But no, I probably will be on there today.
All right, yeah, so good to know. Looks like Music Therapy Laz show was canceled for today, so he's not coming up right next. But Ben Coombs is going to have his show later this evening, and originally his guest was going to be Charles Green, but I think Charles broke a tooth and is going to be able to do it. So y'all get to visit with me on Ben's show tonight if you like.
Cool.
Yeah, so I'll be the guest over there. I'm just trying to catch up with some of the comments here. And Jimmy Ray Hawkins says, "Thank you, Jimmy, for a fascinating life history, scratching the surface. I'm sure the community is awesome. Wish I could participate more. Work, family, time constraints. Yeah, and that is a whole part of it, right? You get that additional thing, and it's balancing everything off and spending that time with your family and spending the time here and all things." Yep, Michael Krause, it's a Charles swap tonight. Oh, everybody, thank you so much for another great show. Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on. This was fascinating, and I'm sure we're going to have to do it again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a real privilege, Charles. Appreciate it.
Oh, no, the privilege is really all mine. Really. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing the OU 812 show later on and see what new things you guys come up with.
Yeah, come and watch me play something in the key of E. Actually, in the key of C.
Absolutely love it. Well, everyone have a great day. Jimmy, stay on. We'll talk for a bit, and but everyone, go ahead, watch the other shows. Watch the OU 812 show later. Watch Ben Coombs' channel tonight, and you can make fun of me a little bit as we go. All right. Have a good evening, folks.
All right. Rock on.